Do you think that it matters what you think? Watch this. So, mindset matters. Yes, it does. I want to tell you a brief story about somebody that I worked with once in home care. She was in her 80s. She'd had an amputation. She had a prosthetic leg. She was learning how to use it. She requested a different therapist because the therapist who was coming to see her wasn't working her hard enough. She was in her 80s. And she was determined. She had a mindset that said, I'm going to do this. She wanted to be able to get on and off the floor by herself, without assistance, with or without her prosthetic leg on. Because if she happened to fall, when someone is got a prosthetic leg, if they have to use the restroom in the middle of the night, they're not going to put their leg on to go to the restroom, right? They're going to use their walker, their wheelchair, whatever device they're using to get to the bathroom. So if a fall happened, whether she had that leg on or off, she wanted to be independent. Not have to call and say, help, I've fallen and I can't get up, right? So her therapist who was coming, she complained, he wasn't doing much, just a couple exercises and he'd be on his way. So I ended up, I was it. I worked this woman, they used to joke and call me the sergeant when I worked in the nursing home, but it wasn't because I was mean to people. It's because if they were 100 years old, but they were going to go home and they were going to be climbing ladders and doing stuff, I'd have them in the parallel bars doing squats. I'd have them working. They're doing lunges. They're training in 3-plane, right? So I had this woman working. I worked her hard, and guess what? She could get on and off the floor all by herself, whether she had that prosthetic leg on or off, with no assistance. She met her goal. But her mindset was that she was going to do it. Now, had I come to her home and told her, you need to be able to get on and off the floor all by yourself, whether you got the leg on or off, and she didn't think that mattered or she didn't think she could do it, I could have worked with her for a year and not getting her there until I could get her to think differently. I've had people come to the clinic who said, I'm only here because they're making me come to PT, or I can't get my MRI, or I can't get my surgery, or I can't get my disability, so I have to come here first. They don't think I can do anything to help them. It's not that, it's not that they're being mean or rude to me. They just don't think, because they've gone to PT before and it didn't help, but they didn't necessarily work with a therapist who's trained in 3-plane function, who's trained in MELT or TMR, all the things that I'm trained in. So until I can get them to think differently, they're right. There's nothing I can do to help them. But if I can get them to think differently during that initial consultation, and I can start showing them things, I can assess their movements, I can show them a little way to tweak this and tweak that and start to get this working, then they start to get curious and they start to open their mind up and they start to think, maybe there is information that I haven't been made aware of yet that could help me. So now they're starting to think differently. I've changed their mindset, and now we've got a real shot at helping them. So what's your mindset about aging? How do you feel about getting older? Do you think it's this imminent decline that you can do nothing about? That you're going to end up, having to have disposable underwear, having to use a cane or a walker, or you're going to fall? Are you fearful of falling, that you're going to get injured? Maybe your balance is already starting to be a problem. Maybe you find that you're unstable. Maybe you find that you're struggling to get out of the car or squat down and get something out from under the sink. You get this low and you can't get back up unless you got something to hold on to, right? So it's not age that's doing that to you. It's not training your body properly. Things are happening by default. You can learn how to have functional strength, full mobility, healthy optimal stability, as long as you're above ground. There are things you can learn, things you can do. So change that stinking thinking, right? So you can age well and be independent into your 90s and beyond. All right. I'll see you next week.